Just as many others, I was sleeping when it started. I woke up to the thump sound of shelling. It felt like fireworks, but lower in tone and louder. I live in the center of the city, pretty far from the initial impact zone, but it still woke me up immediately. Well, it started, huh? I thought to myself. Still half asleep, my brain activated in a second, trying to figure out what are the implications of this. I never was to a war zone. I was never interested in war. Never heard explosion sounds myself. It was difficult to grasp the scale of a projectile impact. I thought there was a fire already visible from my window. It was just a church, eliminated for a night. I got out of my bed and grabbed my phone. I used Telegram as primary messenger. And the only public chat I was a part of was a local group where people voluntarily gave away stuff they don't need it anymore. It was exactly 5:05 a.m. Out of 700 participants, about 500 were online. The chat was flooding with questions like, "Anyone heard it too?" And yes, we all heard it well. Sudden thought struck me that I was just dreaming, so I checked and pinched myself. For the first time in my life, I did that in all seriousness. That did not wake me up. I went and texted my girlfriend, the most valuable person for me, right away. She was offline when I opened the chat box, but went online as soon as I started texting. "Is it loud at your place?" I asked. "What the hell is going on?" She replied with a question. "Very loud," she added. We exchanged a couple more messages before I asked her if she could get to my place right away. Firstly, because I lived further from Russian border from which the shots were fired, and secondly because I felt like I could protect her. Later, an additional factor was also revealed that my house is an older 3-story high building with thicker walls and safer location, not a fragile high-rise on the edge of the city. The initial burst was short. "Is that it?" I thought. Then, after about 15 minutes, it repeated, informing me that this was not going to end just like that. Neither me nor my girlfriend were easily scared or emotional types, but that moment, my hands started shaking. In the following days, I would get used to the shelling and rumbling windows and even ignore it altogether. Truly, we adapt to anything, especially since I was side by side with my beloved one every minute, all the way through. We would watch cartoons, cook, and have fun during the day, and cuddling in the bathroom during the night. She felt safe with me by her side, and I felt calm with her nearby. Back to the first few hours, I needed to switch my attention in some way and do something fun, so I blasted on some music and danced. Then I took a cold shower and made myself a breakfast. It was hard to swallow food, even though my stomach growled. My body was shocked and confused. I met with my girlfriend closer to midday. I texted her that there are reportedly tanks crossing the border right now, so we have to meet ASAP. My idea was that if we were to be stuck inside because of the battles on the street, it would be cool to live through this together. The initial plan was to solve some document problems at the service center. She needed to restore her passport. But the institution was closed, so we decided to make a circle through the park and head back to my place. The air was tranquil for some hours as we were strolling through the city park. We looked at the lonely animal statues and attractions. It was our chance to climb them as nobody was watching. Suddenly, a series of thunderous blasts broke the silence. It was loud and massive. We shrugged instinctively. "Maybe it's a bad idea to just casually walk here right now," she said. "Yeah, I think we better get out of here," I agreed. We hurried to the exit, not running but at a slightly faster pace. The only other people in the park was a couple kissing on a branch. "Oh, I guess they're in a similar situation as we are," I suggested. We waited for a bus and the bus driver charged us money for the ride, even though it should have been free according to the latest news, though it was nothing compared to the price of a taxi ride in the following days. Those who continued driving taxi charged up to 2,000 hryvnias for a 10 minutes ride. This is about a third of one minimum wage in Ukraine. Of course, I don't blame them for striking a high price for driving through a city that's being bombarded. I just want you to imagine how desperate some people were, and still are.
to give away their lost money for a chance to flee from their own home alive. As soon as we got home, I started fortifying. I put duct tape on the windows, making X's. A trick used in World War II I read about sometime in the past. I have wooden window frames, so I nailed some dark sheets on them to stop the glass from spreading inside the room in case it would break from a shock wave. I moved the mattress to the bathroom and decided that we would be sleeping there because the room was giving us some extra safety with an additional layer of wall. Luckily, we didn't need it. At last, we went to the local store. There was almost no food on the shelves already in the first day, but we still stocked on some sweets to keep us full and calm. We went back and tried to sleep, hoping that we would live to see the morning. Overall, it was one of the weirdest and honestly fascinating days of my life. All the tragedy aside, I always believed that people need some sort of a massive shake from time to time to start appreciating life again. That is exactly what happened to me, and although it's not over yet and we still face the danger of a nuclear apocalypse, I'm happy and glad to having lived through this thing. There were many other things that happened to us after the first day, but that is for another time. Thank you for listening to my story. Live the moment and be happy.